Hey everyone, this video has been quite some time in the making. Um, the following is a compilation I've put together about the dolphin slaughter that takes place in Taiji, Japan, 6 months out of every year. The season starts September 1st. It's a difficult subject, but I think it's very important to bring awareness. So the following is a compilation of some information about what actually is going on, why I believe and many believe it should be stopped, and also I will provide some resources if you are interested in being proactive as well and advocating for stopping this brutal slaughter that goes on. It's unspeakably horrible. I do have some footage that I have permission to include, which I will be putting at the end of this compilation, because there are some things that words cannot adequately describe, that you have to see to fully comprehend. And I feel very strongly that we need to be a voice against this. So, if you have any questions, please ask. If you want more information about how to get more involved, let me know. Like I said, I'll put a lot of resource information here for you, and thanks in advance for watching, everyone. Hey guys, so I didn't get that video posted yesterday because I wanted to write Delphinus, who's the one who put up the videos that were my introduction to the situation here on YouTube. I wrote to her asking if I can use her material. She wrote back saying go ahead, so I will attach that footage, and I hope that some of you will be inspired to become an advocate and an activist for the dolphins in Taiji and all over the world. If you've seen my profile picture, I'm wearing an SJD hoodie, and the reason is that this issue is very close to my heart and soul, and extremely disturbing, and I have become an advocate and activist for the dolphins that are being slaughtered in Taiji, Japan, when the killings start for the year. And it's like a 6-month period where they do a sound drive to herd the dolphins into this isolated cove and pin them off, and then leave them for the night. They go home after the drive, and in the morning on the beach, the dolphin trainers come from different sea aquariums around the world, or swim with dolphins programs, or different businesses that profit off of captive dolphins. And they pick out the most valuable, which are usually the bottlenose and females. And those dolphins are, removed. Then the trainers leave. And then the fishermen begin butchering these dolphins, and to them, dolphins are just fish. Well, we know that that's not true. Dolphins are cetaceans like whales and other oceanic kindred spirits. They're very sentient, self-aware, intelligent, benevolent, compassionate. They've even saved human lives. These are very precious creatures, and not only that they are killed in the manner they are killed, but the entire thing is just absolutely senseless. Perhaps the greatest argument from a humanitarian perspective, even if you aren't particularly moved for the dolphins themselves, is their meat is seriously contaminated. Um, the deal is that they're at the top of the food chain, basically, in the ocean. And we have so much toxic waste dumped into our oceans now that, you know, bacteria absorb it. Fish come eat the plankton or the little simple organisms, whatever. And then the bigger fish come eat the smaller fish, and fish that are even bigger than that come eat them, and all the way up, and then, the whales and dolphins eat fish. And mercury is not excreted, so it builds and is transferred to whoever's on the top of the food chain. Mercury is extremely toxic. It can cause neurological damage, a lot of mental issues as well, and can be fatal. This mercury poisoning causes a disease called Minamata disease. It has a great deal of side effects. Children are born with lots of deformities and suffer, mental deficits, early deaths. I mean, it's very brutal. This disease developed from eating the dolphin meat and whale meat and storing up mercury. Children were being born deformed, severely mentally handicapped, very sick. So, this is not something that isn't understood. It's well understood. But in Taiji, it's still a very profitable industry. Interestingly, the Japanese don't even want to eat that meat. So, this is not unknown. And in Taiji, there were some efforts to kind of cover this up. And it turns out that government officials decided, because the fishermen couldn't sell the meat once, the Japanese in the area found out, the high mercury levels and everything, contracted that it was to be used in school lunch. And in Japan, if they give you a lunch, you have to eat it. So this has major consequences. It's not, even if you don't love animals, it's kind of a big deal. If you love animals, it's an even bigger deal. Especially sentient mammals, it's heartbreaking, really, the whole situation. But, until January of this year, nobody saw what actually happened in the Cove after trainers left with the dolphins they wanted to keep. You could see the drives, you could see them, rope off the area to keep the dolphins in the mouth of the Cove, and you could see the boats come to drive them toward the shallower waters near shore. And then there were tarps from every direction, so nobody could see how the killings actually took place. But afterward, the entire Cove is red. Bright red, just bleeding out into the ocean. So you can imagine. This alarmed a lot of people, and the Japanese and Taiji went out of their way to shield this practice from the public eye. They're just making a living, right? Their sustenance is just fish, So, Rico Berry started this Save Japan Dolphins movement, and has been working with different professionals to place volunteers in Taiji to observe what's going on. And this has all been very covert because obviously they don't want you there. So, if you haven't seen it, there's a movie out. It's called The Cove. This is a documentary that Rico Berry and his team put together, documenting their efforts to collect what's really going on in Taiji, information, and all of the efforts that the Japanese police and government went through to cover this up, basically, from the world. The majority of the country doesn't even know what goes on in Taiji, or didn't. Now, a great deal of awareness has been raised by Rick O'Barry, who way back in the 70s got involved in the whole thing with the show Flipper, which is a U.S. show in which there was, this dolphin named Flipper, and he would, I guess he was like the sea lassie, right? Like, he would help people out, and he was like a little hero. Turned out Flipper was actually two different females that Rick worked with and trained for that show. And so he actually started the industry, really. And then, things like SeaWorld and all of that came about. But it is very rare that we see somebody who was once an advocate of something damaging to recognize their wrongdoing and make consummate effort to amend and reverse whatever havoc they created, whatever damage they created. And Rick O'Barry has done that. He became an activist in Japan to try and figure out what was going on in Taiji and why. And I gave you the native perspective already, but financial perspective, wild dolphins is where the captive dolphin trade comes from. They don't breed well in captivity. They don't do well in captivity. As a matter of fact, he was saying, if you go back where all the food is and everything, they've got buckets and buckets of meds to give these things, H2 blockers or proton pump inhibitors to reduce acid production because these animals are so stressed. Newsworthy, I think, is the whale hunting, there's been the International Whaling Commission, which is a consortium of nations that meet to discuss, certain countries are allowed to whale so much for so many reasons. And certain nations haven't stopped, and Japan is one of them. So there are two organizations that have done really heroic work in confronting these want-to-be bullshit scientific justifications, like we're measuring body percentage or whatever. They'd hold up a sign where they're dragging a whale onto the ship saying, oh, we're taking measurements or something, we're not harvesting for food, this is scientific research, because that was one loophole in the IWC that you could collect scientific specimens, right? So that was their excuse. And earlier this year at Antarctica, Sea Shepherd, which is another activist group in advocacy of sea cetaceans, actually intercepted a whaling vessel and prevented them from collecting whales. So that was really awesome. So yeah, Sea Shepherd, check them out, they're awesome too. Back to the International Whaling Commission for a minute. There's a lot of lobbying that goes on, obviously, in any political situation for the nations that want to hunt whales and smaller cetaceans like dolphins, which, by the way, IWC does not protect. They do not protect small cetaceans like dolphins. So, that's how they get around that loophole as well. But Japan, over the years, has gone to many small nations that are economically underdeveloped, like all of the Solomon Islands, Caribbean Islands, Pacific Islands, stuff like that. Built them fisheries, gave them all this money in order to purchase IWC votes in favor of dolphin hunting. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of details. I strongly suggest that you check out the Cove. There are also a lot of volunteer-submitted videos on YouTube if you want to follow the grassroots effort, people who have gone to Taiji and donated their time and energy and resources to exposing this disgusting event. For those of you that are going to stop watching, please check out takepart.org. It's an advocacy group. SaveJapanDolphins.org, and there's Sea Shepherd, of course, and Greenpeace. Different organizations that are working to combat this issue. You can also go to EcoJoia, EcoJoia.com. They manufacture organic fibers and donate so much of their proceeds to different groups like Save Japan Dolphins and the work that they're doing. So if you want to support the cause, you can get a bumper sticker or a hoodie, which is what I have, you see in my picture. Bracelets, hats, all kinds of cool stuff you can do to support the cause. So I'm going to warn you right now. I'm going to go ahead and attach that footage. I think it's important, but it is extremely graphic and extremely disturbing, and it really screwed me up. So I caution you, if you are not in a strong place, if you are an empathic, sensitive spirit and don't feel you can handle this, now would be the time to stop watching.